Hello, welcome back to Flat Caps and Classics, and firstly thank you to those of you who subscribed so far. The number's small, but we're building, and it's quality not quantity at this stage perhaps. Anyway, keep watching. If you can recommend this to a friend and subscribe yourself if this is the first time you've seen it, then that would be absolutely wonderful as I continue the rebuild of my 1977 MGB Roadster. Things that I've done so far since we last saw each other: I've managed to replace one of the engine mounts. You may remember I said that one of them was split, the rubber was coming away from the framework of it. I've managed to change. There's a new one in there now. I happen to have a spare one, which was miraculous. So I've changed that by literally lifting the front of the engine up with the hoist very gently, swapping them over and bolting it all back down. So the engine is now in there securely. Also, I showed this on the last video, I think it was, and was wondering what it was. I had my thoughts that it was something to do with the bracketry, a support for the gearbox, and it is absolutely a support for the gearbox which has been left out. So I need to put that back in, and that's going to involve me using a transmission jack to hold the gearbox up while I take the cross member out and put this one in where it should be. So I'm glad I saw that. An MGB rebuild, thank you very much indeed for confirming that as well. The other thing I mentioned last time was the rear loom, which I put into the car. I've obviously not wired it up because there's no electric, there's no lights or anything in the car to wire them to, but I'd run the cable underneath the car and put this into the boot, and then realised that where it had been disconnected under the engine bay, or in the engine bay, it had just been cut with a pair of pliers. I don't see why, when they were just bullet connectors, which I very, very easily pulled out, but I guess it was just speed of what he wanted to do. Anyway, I have now repaired it. This has been soldered. I've soldered the one end back onto the loom. I've used proper soldering and heat shrink in there as well, and then obviously re-insulated the whole thing. I'm hoping that's done the job, but again, safety first. If it doesn't, if there are dodgy connections, then this is going to have to be changed, but clearly I won't know of that until much further down the line, when not only is this on, but the lights are in. I've actually got a battery, which I haven't got for it at the moment. So the loom I want to put back in today. I've got a new fuel tank on order. You may remember that the other one has had a repair. It looks like it's been repaired in fiberglass. I'm not really certain that that's a safe thing to do with a fuel tank. It rattles a bit, there's rust in there. So I've ordered a new fuel tank. That's coming from MGB Hive, hopefully by the end of this week. I mean, it's Wednesday now as we speak, or is it? I don't know, but hopefully by the weekend it'll be here. You lose track of time, don't you, when you're locked down? Along with a new fuel line, because the old fuel line, whilst it had been taken off, somehow it had been kinked. So again, new fuel line coming as well. Safety's, you can get this with me, I think safety clearly is very, very important, particularly when you're dealing with electrics and with fuel. So we're going to run that today. And I'm expecting a parcel today, which I'm really looking forward to. And you know, it's the little things that make the difference. Hopefully today, not tomorrow, there will be a load of washers and sealing rings and star washers, you know, little things that enable jobs to be finished, like this, for example, the clutch slave cylinder, which I've cleaned up and has come up really rather well, but I can't put it in properly because I'm missing a star washer. Things that we take for granted, isn't it, really? We would just nip down to the local shop and motor factors, and I'd be able to get one of those. We can't go, well, we could go if we want, but they're shut, and it would be irresponsible to go anyway. So again, the online business has been doing great guns for me, and I'm expecting that hopefully today, if not tomorrow. So I've got a load of jobs to do today. I also want to get the engine cleaned up a bit. It's been painted a kind of, well, let's call it an interesting shade of green, shall we? And I'm not going to change it because actually the paint is in good condition. It's been newly painted. It's filthy dirty. So I've got a load of engine degreasant that I'm going to put on there, start cleaning that off, and then I want to start building it up because I hope that very quickly the engine bay will start looking like a properly completed engine bay. I've got the rest of the wiring to clean as well and start putting that in. I have a bit of a concern about the alternator, which when I took off so that I could lift the engine to do the engine mount, it's spinning very, very freely. There's no resistance there at all. It's not making any noises or anything like that to suggest bad bearings, but I think the brushes have worn out on it because there's no resistance at all. Again, it's something I'm going to need to have tested, because I don't just go and buy another one without testing this one first. So, time to get on with what we're doing today. So we've got our loom here, and the vast majority of the bits with wires sticking out of the loom, obviously the connector sticking out of the loom, are going to stay in the boot. So logic would suggest that you feed it from the boot down through to the front of the car. The hole is just here, and there's a grommet further down here that we'll be able to put in. So it's just a question now, really, of feeding it through. And getting it started is the trickiest bit, because you've got all these cables that are sticking together. Of course, when I first did it, I didn't have this issue because it was just a clean cut on the cable itself. But that's now started, and I can feed it through. All the way through. It doesn't matter what it's doing underneath yet. Sort that out in a minute. But we'll just get this through and get the grommet in, I think. So there we are. That's the loom in. I mean, obviously I'll tidy it up when I come to fit the car out after it's all been painted, but it's just in very loosely there, just to, well, basically get it out of the way. Right, it's time to turn to the underneath. There we are then. It's all buttoned up around the, I hope you can see that, some P-clamps there, and then it goes down the side of the battery box and through. I've not buttoned this up yet. I've, to be honest, run out of P-clamps. Run out of usable ones. Through the cross member there, the cross beam there, with the rubber grommet, and then up into the engine bay, which is where we will pick it up and hopefully match the right colour wires with the right colour wires. Well, there we are. That's the majority of the rear loom put in. There are one or two wires there that I've basically got to look up to make sure I'm still familiar with them, because they don't correspond to the wires that they're going in, and there's another one here that's just been chopped as well. But apart from that, that is largely in, which I'm thrilled about. What I'm also thrilled about is, I mentioned earlier that I was waiting for a box of bits, you know, sealing washers and star washers and stuff like that. That's still not arrived. However, the fuel tank and the fuel line that I ordered at about 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon has just arrived, and it's only just after lunch, so we can put the fuel tank on. I love these bits. It's like Christmas all over again. Well, it is if you're a petrol head like me. So not only have we got the fuel tank that's arrived, I can't believe how quickly these got here. 3 to 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon I ordered them. Brilliant. Thank you, MGB Hive. I have the fixing kit, which we will need for it as well. There's a mixture of nuts and bolts that go through here, and fixed nuts that come from the car as well that it goes on. But we'll go through that in a bit. Also, these are packing strips. These unfurl and they go across the top, just a bit of padding so you haven't got metal on metal. We've got a neck foam ring that goes around the filler cap, again, so metal is not touching metal. And then this is the seal, the rubber seal, and the fixing ring for the sender unit, which is also the fuel gauge, the sender unit, which is also the fuel feed as well on this particular car. The thing about the 1976-77 models of the Roadster, well, and the GT, was that this is when they changed from chrome bumper to rubber bumper. And as I was speaking to someone yesterday, they were saying that the thing about these is it was difficult to know which fuel tank we were going to have to order, because MG, when they were building them, just kind of go, do you know what, we've got loads of stuff left on the shelves, let's just put it on. If it fits, we'll put it on. Such was the joys of motoring in the 70s. So the first thing we need to do, I've got the tank placed on a chest just below where it needs to go. I have a slight issue in that you have 4 captive bolts that are coming through, and that one is very slightly bent. Now, I don't know whether that was bent, obviously, when they took the last one out, or over time, or whatever. However, I don't really want to try and straighten that, because if it snaps, I'm going to be in trouble. We'll have a go, and if I have no option, then okay, that's fine. First thing I need to do is put these packing straps on. I mean, it's not rocket science, this. They just go on here at fairly even intervals to stop it rubbing against the metal. As I say, don't want metal against metal. So I think we'll probably space them out a bit like that, so that we've got a good coverage there. Next, I'll leave that, that's just the cover to stop bits going in. Next, we've got the seal from the filler neck onto the body, again, stopping metal against metal. Now, a couple of these bolts, spring washer and a washer, sorry, not bolts, nuts. Now I've got to try and get it up onto the car without dropping it and damaging me. And this, I think I'll probably try and get it up there first and see if we can get it married up, which is going to be the challenge. There's that one there. This is the difficult one. There we go, that's it. That's it. So I think right, so I think what I'll do is just put a nut and a washer, if I can, on there, just so that I know that that's not going to. I have cleaned these threads with a nut first. Now there's been a flaw in my very well planned attack here, and that is, well actually it's not my fault, Gov. I've got the 4 captive bolts in place underneath. The tank is on. You can see just here the seal up to the bodywork, and of course the filler entrance there. I'm just keeping that cover on to keep the main part of the crud out of it that generates in the workshop. These clip onto the side of the fuel tank, and then the bolts go through and they should go into it, and you bolt them down. However, they're too short. Now I think that's probably because just the edges of the fuel tank have bent down a little bit. So instead of taking it off, because to be honest it was a bit of a faff to put it on, instead of taking it off, I'm going to cheat and I'm going to use exactly the same bolt. I've just got some longer ones. So if you have a look at those, you see I'm just going to use the slightly longer ones, which I'm hoping will be long enough. So same fibre washer, same steel washer. Yeah, there we go. And that should now take, which it isn't for some reason. Maybe this one's too short as well. No, there we go. That's in, that's taken. So I'm going to use these longer bolts just to put these in, and that will, I mean, ultimately as it tightens up, it doesn't matter that these bolts are longer because there's nothing that they're going to foul on underneath. So as long as they're the right thread, which I know that they are, then they should work a treat. Right, there we are. Didn't think I'd get the fuel tank on today, but there we are. She's all buttoned up, and that's wonderful. That's a really great job done. I've still got the fuel lines to put on, and the sender unit, which is also the fuel feed as well, to put on. I still have to, of course, sort out the issues with the fuel tank, but as far as we go right now, that is it. Thanks ever so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Please share it with your friends if you have. That would be wonderful, and I look forward to seeing you the next time. And let's be honest, most of us have got a lot of time on our hands at the moment, so it won't be long before the next video's up. See you then. Cheerio.